One of the most popular questions that I receive from online students or YouTube comments
Yeah.
is, how do I not get nervous to play in front of people?
This is a
I
good
can
one.
sit down and do that, but then when I get in front of someone, I'm like, I promise I'm good.
Yeah.
I promise.
Oh, wait. No. Oh.
Yeah.
God.
So, what
Yeah.
would your advice be to somebody who deals with that? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, I've dealt with it myself
Well,
before, but I mean,
yeah, it's a great question.
I'd love to hear what you think about that, and if it's happened to you. Are you
Yes.
human, Pete Thorn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I talked about
what's
this
it
with
like?
Tom Quayle this morning,
Oh, cool.
and we had a great discussion about the similar thing. You know, when we're on YouTube, and this is no different than the way that records were made all the way back to when recording started. It's your best version of yourself.
Yeah.
You get multiple takes. You know, you're on YouTube. If you screw up, you can go back and do it, again. And I told Tom this morning, I go, the clearest representation of my first take is the Tim and Pete show. Because we're sitting there doing a jam with Mark, Lettieri, or with, these great, Michael Thompson and these different people. I went, in with Michael Thompson, and he had this idea that, because he was working on a song in the studio, and he had this idea that we should all cut a solo on this track.
Okay.
So he had a track up he was working on for somebody in China, I think, and he's like, let's all just try taking a solo on it with my guitar. So it's like he handed you the guitar, and you just had to play the solo. So of course Tim Pierce is like, he's Tim Pierce for a reason. He's a he picks up the guitar and just plays something awesome the first time around, generally every time. Michael's a legend. He does the same thing. They hand me the guitar, and it's like, so if you go watch that video, that's the perfect representation of, like.
So what's the title of that people can search for?
It's the Tim and Pete show, and it's the episode with Michael Thompson.
Okay.
So I was actually proud of how I did. His guitar has action like this high. It's
No.
crazy. So
you're like, uh-oh.
I almost liked it better, because it was like, okay, I don't have the benefit of, I have to just come up with something on this thing. I can't play fast.
The legato is maybe at an all-time low and back in the mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did okay. I was actually proud of myself. But Tim and Michael just played some amazing stuff, and that's like that pressure. So what you hear of me in that video is my first take, and people should know that, because when they watch me on YouTube, and people are like, do you ever make mistakes? It's like, I sit there and I get the chance to, like all of us, when we're making these videos, we're trying to show our best version of ourselves, I suppose. And I have a minute to work on my ideas and come up with something. And I'm best like that. And I'm actually okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with, you have to be okay with the fact that you're not perfect, and you practice and you try and get better. And don't let it's intimidating. There's these amazing players on YouTube, and you see somebody every 10 minutes. It's like, who's this? Wow, look at that. And it's so the key to it, I think, is take the pressure off yourself and try and go. I was talking about this with Tom this morning. There's cameras on all the time everywhere now. Anywhere you go, it's like, he gets together with another great guitar player or whatever in a club. Everybody's just like, oh, it's Tom Quayle or whatever, and they're filming, and you don't even have a chance to kind of like develop an idea or whatever. So if you can, I want to do more of this in my own life, because I used to do this, and I'm not doing it enough now. I just want to get a fun cover band together in LA and play some dives, and have a couple beers and take the pressure off, because my life it's either these YouTube videos or sessions, or like generally, and it's a real quality problem, but it's playing in front of like 20,000 people or 100,000 people or whatever. That's what it's been, and it's like, it's always, and they're filming a DVD, and you only get one shot, and it's like, that's what guitar can become at the it's,
and it can feel like you're filming a DVD when you're in front of people. I think that's the
right.
feeling, no matter what level, if you're at your level or a beginner level or intermediate, that feeling is still palpable and pretty much the same, as it's all relative. So
it's all relative.
Essentially, your advice is to not put so much pressure on yourself. Would that be a
try
summary?
And get into some, have some fun playing the guitar.
Have fun.
Like, get together with your friends and jam. Get used to jamming. Like, whether it's just in the basement or at a rehearsal studio a couple times a week or once a month, like whatever. Just try and make guitar fun and not about constantly like social media or Instagram all the time or whatever. Remember why you got into it, which is you're just jazzed by the guitar. It's like it's a fun thing to do. So it's like take that pressure off, so maybe that means getting a club gig or just jamming with your friends at home or whatever, but just have fun with it. And then besides that, what I would say is basically like know that the crowd, when you're playing a gig, know that everybody's, this is the difference between YouTube and the social media stuff and actually playing in front of real people. Something happens when you're playing in front of real people, especially if they're paying to come see you in a band.
Yeah.
Remember, they've all got your back. Like, people are like, how do you get in front of 100,000 people? It's because they're ready to party.
Yeah.
They're not there to watch you fail. They want to have a good time. And you're up on that stage, and they're like, you can almost do anything.
That's
you
a
know?
good point.
You just be, have the attitude, and everybody's like, yeah. You don't have to play a million notes or whatever. You don't have to, and it doesn't even really translate at those big gigs. Like, it's almost the simpler stuff you do is very, I watched Lindsey Buckingham at a Fleetwood Mac concert recently. I've never seen Fleetwood Mac live, and I saw them. And he played this guitar solo that was, he's a genius guitar player, and he's so unique. But it was literally like probably 64 bars at least that he took. And he started down here, and he didn't do anything that was that difficult. He was just playing some stuff and a simple lick over and over again. And then he moved up the neck a little bit, and he started working up the neck a bit and doing it over. And he allowed himself all this space to just develop these ideas. And I know it's probably a thing where he's worked out the solo to some degree, but he was just so simple working out, and then building in intensity, but not necessarily speed, just in intensity. Nothing he was doing was that technically crazy, but it was so perfect, and he allowed himself to repeat ideas and develop until he got to the highest note on the guitar, you know, and then the song ends, they go out with, and there was like a bunch of like housewives behind me basically, and they were like, holy shit. They just
like, that was music, baby.
Yeah, they were so moved by the thing that he did, and it was like, it was like it was like, God, I gotta remember that, like that you don't always have to, start slow and develop ideas, and you don't have to do anything that's beyond your ability. Just be authentic.
That's really good advice for me. Thanks for that. I think it's really, as guitar players, that we put pressure on ourselves, like maybe not competition, but always trying to push yourself to play at the 100 out of 100. Where it's like, if you play at 50 out of 100, that's really enjoyable, and other people will enjoy it too.
Sure.
And you forget that, I think. Like, when I hear other people play, and it's real simple and just nice, and the rhythm is there, which is, I think, the most important part of music is rhythm. Yeah. It's just so satisfying, and it's so easy to just forget that you don't have to be at your peak. Technical ability all the time.
Absolutely, because it's anxiety provoking for the audience too. They can tell that you're trying.
And I think that could be a full circle kind of answer to the question of how do you deal with nerves when you're in front of people. Just start.
Absolutely.
Enjoy that note.
Yeah. That's good. Breathing. Honestly, breathing. I once heard, I think it was Eric Johnson, somebody in an interview saying breathing is so important because, and you find check yourself when you're playing like a difficult line or something. Are you breathing? A lot of people hold their breath.
Oh yeah.
And it's, if you can get into like just breathing while you play, it's amazing. It's like, seriously, try it and see if you do it when you're practicing. And just breathing, just exhaling and inhaling as you're, playing your licks. It's like, that was huge for me to understand that, because all these, you get pent up and then people can hear it. I did a tour with Tony McAlpine last year in France.
That's pretty awesome.
Which is, he's like, he's ridiculous on guitar. But I was amazed at Tony is like, he's a genius level on piano. It's unbelievable watching him play piano. Guitar is almost like second nature to him. Like I think he just started and he was like, yeah.
He actually was born with a little guitar in his hand.
I think it's possible. I think it
seems like it.
Probably
and a
true.
Little keyboard on the other side.
Yeah, and he does that too. He plays guitar and keys at the same time and harmonizes. It's ridiculous. He's like on some other level. But one thing he told me that was amazing is, I can't remember what we were talking about, but we were talking about, if when things are difficult on, like, how did you play at your peak ability? He goes, of course not. He's like, I don't do anything that's like, he goes, why would I want to do that? I do this because it's, it's musical and it's easy for me to do. I want to bum myself out on stage. So I was like, wow, even at that, so he's got those
validation
chops.
From Tony McAlpine. That's what that is.
Yeah, just play things that you're comfortable with, that it's like, put yourself in it, be kind to yourself, basically, like, don't be so hard on yourself. It's supposed to be, once again, fun and enjoyable. Get out there and have a good time, and then go for it. When you're having a good night, go for it and don't be afraid. Watch the movie The Song Remains the Same, watch Jimmy Page. He ain't hitting every note perfect,
No.
It's like every 1 in 3, he might botch sometimes in solos, but he's this endless flow of, it's like whatever, then he's on to the next idea, and then he's on to the next. It's awesome, you know. I got Page when I was older. I understood. It was like, wow, he's just like the fearlessness, and it doesn't matter, you know. It's like to be so technically, you know, it's like it's more about attitude, and your spirit is so much more, you know. And
rock and roll's all about the piss and vinegar,
yeah,
blood on the guitar.
Yeah.
Just give me that.
Totally. I got a great one. This is a good. I don't want to, you know, go off on a tangent, take too much time, but I always think about Jack White when I'm in a bad state on stage. If I'm too in my own head or something, I remember Jack White in the movie It Might Get Loud, which I often quote him and the Edge and Jimmy Page. It's such a great movie, and there's a bunch of gems in there.
Like 5 times.
It's so great, right? Yeah. So remember when he's talking about like they're showing that weird. He's like playing in the Legion for the old people or whatever, you know, and it's him and Meg doing this weird gig, and in that there's a voiceover there where he's talking about, you know, if it takes me, you know, 2 seconds to get from the piano to the vocal mic, I put the vocal mic another foot away. To make myself make it, to work harder, because he's like,
I remember that line, but
you know,
it's interesting. It means something a little different now in the context of this.
Like they want to show, you know, so I'm gonna make it harder on myself. Like I'm gonna, you know, and then I'm, you know, so it's like I love his attitude about. He's kind of a primitive guitar player, but he's got the right attitude. He talks in that movie as well about Son House, you know, and his favorite song, which is just Son House stomping and singing, you know. There's no guitar, and he goes, that's my favorite song, you know, and it's just him stomping and singing. So there's a great, that you can probably find this on YouTube, but the White Stripes at one point played on Conan all week. So they did it Monday through Friday, and they played every night. And I believe it was the last night, I remember him taking a solo, and he went and took the guitar off and put it on Conan's desk. Like he ran over to the desk, because he's crazy, you know. He ran over to the desk and he put the guitar down, and then he started playing Slide in Conan's face, you know. And it was so cool. It was like super showy. And he did that, and then when he went to put the guitar back on and run over back to the vocal mic to finish the song, the wireless or whatever got pulled out of the guitar, I think, because all of a sudden there's no guitar and it's dead. You're on live TV. What do, you know? And what did he do? Threw the guitar down, ran over the vocal mic, and finished the song, drums and vocal, like full force, and it's like better that it happened. And you need to remember that. And then I got thinking about, because his favorite song is drums or just stomping and vocals. He's not afraid of that. Screw the guitar, you know. And then he grabs the vocal mic. And it's like, I think about those things.
My juices flowing right now.
Yeah, man. It's like, well, you know, it's like the show must go on. And those are some of the, you know, if you in that split second, how you deal with that situation, you know, you could wither, you know, or you could excel, you know, and it's up to you. Like,
and if you excel, it's the worst thing that can happen to you is that people will be in awe. And the best thing that will happen to you is that people will be in awe and remember you as a legend.
That's right. Pete Townsend taking the guitar off, right, and breaking the headstock. You know that story? The first time where you know, he's in a small club and he's got his Rick or whatever, and he hits the ceiling, the headstock breaks off the guitar. Oh, you could wither. Or what did he do? Smash the guitar, and then the Who became legendary then for, you know, their crazy stage antics, right? It was like he turned that situation into a plus. An expensive plus.
With that energy, it was a pleasure, Pete.
Thanks, man.
Let's maybe take it out with a little jam.
Let's do it. What should we do?